The Tao of Self-Confidence, Episode 881. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have an amazing lady on the show today. She is a real estate entrepreneur and developer, and I'm so excited to have her on the show today to share about her story and confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Jessica Yee. Jessica, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Yes. Hi, Sheena. How are you? Thanks for having me on your podcast. So a little bit about myself. I immigrated from China when I was about 10 years old. And when I was 18, I got married and started working in real estate and start flipping and selling houses. After college graduation, I decided to open up my own brokerage firm and started and founded Keller Realty in Cambridge and in Boston, Brighton. And ran it and grew it to about 100 agents and sold it 2 years ago. And at that time, we were producing almost $500 million in sales. So for the last 2 years, since I've sold that company, I've just been really focused on investing and developing real estate.
Well, first off, congrats. You have definitely quite a story starting at 18. And, being in real estate is not something that's typical in Asian culture. But look where you are today. You've been able to run a successful brokerage, be able to sell it, and now doing your own thing. So I just wanted to say congrats to that. That's awesome. And what'd be your favorite self-confidence quote?
I would say Henry Ford has a saying that's whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. I think that's very, very true. And I always remind myself of that.
I totally agree, especially when it comes to self-confidence. I think the most important thing that you need to know is that belief in yourself, right? Even if you don't know what you're doing, even if you have no clue how you're going to get there, you just know that you will. Kind of like you started at 18, you got into real estate. At 18, you probably had no clue what you were thinking. It was just like, I'm going to get into it and figure it out along the way. And when you have that belief, knowing you can do it, you're going to find the resources and take action to get to where you are today. So I love that quote that you mentioned. And in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
Well, exactly what you just said. It's basically believing in yourself, believing in your ability. And I think a part of it is fear, right? You have to overcome your fear and take action. And I think that's what's going to bring you self-confidence.
I love that. I know fear is something that most people deal with, whether it's men or women. We all have fear that stops us from moving forward. And if we learn to use fear as an indicator that we're growing, we're doing something different, and it's going to take us to where we need to go, then, we push ourselves to do it. I know I've had my fair share of owning my fears and going through it and pushing through it and having anxiety attacks and butterflies in my stomach. But if I weren't able to do that, then I wouldn't be here today. So I love that definition that you mentioned. And Jessica, what was your life like before you discovered self-confidence?
So I think self-confidence is really a journey. It's something that you're always building on. So because I started in real estate when I was 18, I guess I was at such a young age where, I'm pretty fearless, right? Because when you're young, you really have nothing to lose and nothing really to be fearful of. So I think for me, it's always just a growing process. It's like a learning process. I'm always just building on that.
I love that. And it's so true. Self-confidence is something that we deal with every single day because there's new challenges, new setbacks, new opportunities that helps us grow as a person, become strong, become courageous, and become, an entrepreneur or a leader or a woman in high corporate. It's something that we have to work on every single day, kind of like working out or taking a walk, things like that. And, what was that point in your life when you realized, you are capable of doing this? Like, especially getting into real estate at 18 is not something typical. And especially when you come from an Asian household, it's like, what are you doing with your life? You're getting into real estate, you know nothing. Why aren't you going to school? And, it's a totally different path than, the typical Asian route. What was that aha moment that made you realize you can make this happen?
So let me back up a little bit and share with you a little bit more about my bio. I got married when I was 18 because I was pregnant when I was 18. So I was literally almost kicked out of my house by my father because, in the Chinese culture, you don't get pregnant that young, right? My father expects me to go to college, get a degree, then you get married, then you have kids. So it's a little bit non-traditional. And so when we got married, my husband and I were thinking about, okay, what do we want to do with our life? And he was studying, how real estate works and decided that, real estate is probably the path that we want to take. And so really, he's the mastermind behind the thought of going into real estate. And we are doing it as a team and decided that, okay, he's going to focus more on the operational side and I'll be more focused on the administrative, the research side. So it started off with the team and we bought a lot of books. I have bookshelves of like multiple bookshelves of books, tapes, going to seminars. I talked to everyone I can and, really had to just learn it and do it. So I would say the aha moment, I'm not quite sure whether it was when I got married or when I got kicked out of the house, or was it, when we did our first transaction. It was just something that we knew we had to do because we have a baby on the way and we just got to, make it work. So I would say the aha moment was maybe when we did our first transaction and it actually did work, right? That you realize that you can do it and that built on your confidence to do more.
Isn't that amazing when you have your first sale, whether it's $1, $100, or $10,000? It's like the greatest feeling, right? And I think as women, the biggest skill women should have is sales, right? Being able to sell, because we do have that natural gift to just sell. Like, I mean, we refer stuff all the time, right? You'll be like, who's the best hairdresser? Oh, you should go with this person down the street. She does my hair like awesome. What's the best lipstick? Oh, you got to go use this lipstick because like the red just pops out. And so I was just curious, what was that feeling for you when you had your first transaction and it just went through, and especially at such a young age?
Oh, we were thrilled. My first transaction was a foreclosure home that we bought in a suburb near Boston that we paid. I remember it was like $87,000 back in 1997. And we sold it within like a couple of months for 120. So the gain was nearly 30,000. It was like when you're 18 and you have $30,000, you're like, oh my God, in one transaction. So that's really what started our career. So we didn't really spend the money. We actually reinvested the money and continue on the investment. And that's what started it all.
I love that. And 30,000 is back in the day was a person's yearly salary, right? And you did this with one piece of property. And it's amazing what happens when you decided to just learn everything about real estate, applied it, and then get the results. And because of that realization, what's your life been like now?
Well, it feels like a long, long time ago. But since then, like I said, we went on, finished. My flip and sale business has supported us through my college. So I finished college. After graduation, I started the brokerage firm that I mentioned. I sold the brokerage firm and now we're just really in investment and development. Currently, we own around 150 units in rental properties and we're developing, luxury properties, throughout the US. So I guess it's been a far, long journey, but it's been a great ride.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I'm so glad you're on this podcast today just to hear your story. And it's not a very typical route that you went through, but you made it happen, you made it work. And it's also great that you have a supportive husband, right? Sometimes, especially in Asian culture, it's like the wife is supposed to stay home, take care of the household, take care of the kids. You and your husband decided, we're a team, we're going to do this together. We'll figure it out together as a team. And until now, you're still doing this business together, which I think is amazing. And I know, there's a lot of women out there who don't have supported spouses, unfortunately. And so hopefully hearing this, maybe it can help them be inspired to see like, together we can make more money. Together we can have a better life. Together we can, I don't know, take over the world. Like sky's the limit, really. So I really do love your story and what you've been through and where you are today. And, to the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in a similar journey to self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
I would say just do it, right? Believe in yourself and never give up. And a lot of people don't do it just because they don't have the confidence, but it's until you do it and you actually learn from it, that's where you build on your confidence. And confidence is built on really knowing what to do. And if you don't know what to do, it's okay because you can always read a lot of books, YouTube, right? Online. One thing that really worked well for me was having a lot of mentors when I was starting because I was so young. I was just fearless in talking to everyone under the sun about real estate. So I was just reaching out to different people, asking a lot of questions, building a support network, and everybody was really willing to help. So those of you who's scared of reaching out to others and talking and seeking out mentors, I would highly suggest you finding a mentor on whatever field that you want to pursue. And there's so many people out there that really just want to, pay it forward and give back and continue to help others, that you're going to find that somebody who's going to be willing to help you. So I would say, believe in yourself, finding yourself a good supporting network, be it mentor, be it books, learn what you need to learn, take the action, and never give up. And even if you fail, then it's just a lesson. There's no failure. There's only a failure if you give up. So if you don't give up, there's no failures.
I love all the tips that you mentioned, and all of that is so true, especially when it comes to failure. I know as women, sometimes we think failure is the end of all ends, but really it's a result. It's feedback. We figure out what went wrong, we can correct it and move forward. And I love that you mentioned that confidence is about taking action, because one of the biggest reasons why women have low self-confidence is due to inaction, right? We resist a lot. We overthink a lot. And I'm guilty of that too, right? And having support is so important. I mean, you and I met through the US PacWise mentoring circle, which is a really great community, really great mentoring circle where women are just collaborating and having that safe space to connect and chat and find ways that we can help each other out. And so, especially in Asian culture, right, asking for help is like the biggest sin of all sins. So not realizing asking help is really what gets us to the next level, what helps us build our confidence. So I love everything that you mentioned. And if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, or maybe would like some real estate tips, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Sure. You can connect with me on LinkedIn through LinkedIn and search for Jessica E.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Jessica, you can also head on over to thetowofselfconfidence.com and search for Jessica's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And I really just want to thank Jessica today for taking the time to share her story and tips with us on self-confidence. So thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you, Shayna. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem. It was such an honor to have you on the show. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of The Tao of Self-Confidence. You can order your copy of Asian Women Who Boss Up book by visiting our website at thetowofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.